show. And my name is Paul Opesen, the host. And today we have brought a special guest. He's a medical practitioner, a member of the Uganda Medical Association. He is a son of the soil from Teso. And I hope that today you will enjoy this very show. And we're going to talk more about him, his personality. We're also going to talk about his contribution in Teso. We are also going to talk about what we can expect and what you and me can do in order to make changes towards the development of Teso. And I hope you will follow this show. And for those ones who are watching us live, we thank you very much for securing your time and for also using your own data for the very same. We want to request that you can always follow us on Facebook, EmuriaTV, on YouTube, EmuriaTV, and on Twitter, EmuriaTV. And right in here today, I want to welcome and usher in our guest today. He is Dr. John Ekure. He is the proprietor of Kumi Orthopedics Center. And we want to welcome him to greet the audience. And basically, tell us who Dr. John Ekure is, because we've been hearing about Dr. John Ekure. Yes, we see you, we know you're a doctor, but we want to know who actually today is Dr. John Ekure. You're welcome as you greet the audience. Please tell us exactly who Dr. John Ekure is.
Thank you, Paul. One disclaimer I must make before I even greet the audience is that I'm not that special guest. I'm a very simple, Teso man from Kumi. I may be doing simple things that look special. I may be doing things that touch people, and in the eyes of others they look special. But my feeling, I know that I'm simple. I am as humble as it should be. Good morning, viewers and everyone else who is with us. My name is Dr. John Ekure. I am an orthopedic surgeon and the proprietor of Kumi Orthopedics Center, like Paul has just introduced. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Doctor. And the fact is, you may think you are special. I mean, you may think that you are simple, but trust me, you're very special to some people because you have touched their lives. So today we want to take a little bit, a few strides back, and we would wish to understand. Dr. John Ekure, yes, we know he is from Teso, but where does he come from? What is he? How did he really come about? Because some people really believe that you must be an angel sent from heaven.
Paul, I'm not an angel. I'm a human being.
Yeah, sure.
I was born almost 50 years ago now at Emuria Hospital. My mother was a midwife there. And my father my father came from Kumi. And because he had a large family, he got part of the land again in Serere for the other part of the family. And my mother was born in Ongino, sub-county. And at that time when I was born in Emuria, it all used to be Kumi district. And so I'm born of Kumi district, as we know the old district. And I grew up in Emuria Hospital. I went to Emuria Boys Primary School. From Emuria Boys Primary School, when my mother was transferred to Bukedia Health Center, I joined Bukedia Primary School for my primary 2 and primary 3. I was fortunate to be told by some people who are still alive, and the mother of the former Minister of Health Affairs, Honorable Emuria. I remember, like I told you, there are many stories that I can tell, but I remember her hitting my head because I was very poor at mathematics, arithmetic as such. But I stayed there for a short while, then I moved to Serere, where my dad was, and so I studied in Serere Primary School, and then shifted to Idupa Primary School. That's where I sat my primary leaving examination. Idupa Primary School was really a grass-thatched school with logs. Even up to now when I visit the place, it hasn't changed much. But using those logs and with our shots with torches behind them, we're still able to make it at PLA. We passed in Division 1. I was the best in that class, and so I again got 2 admissions at the same time. one to Wigan Senior Secondary School and one to Teso College Lloyd. And now my father, being a peasant, because he feared the fees at Teso College Lloyd, quickly asked me to take the offer that I was given at Wigan Senior Secondary School. I studied in Wiggins for only 2 weeks. And when one of my stepsisters found my admission letter to Teso College Lloyd in my dad's bedroom, she did not rest, and it was on the deadline day when my place should have been given away from Teso College. She made sure that she traveled from Serere to Kumi, and immediately she gave me money. I moved to Soroti, and in Soroti my sister was married. One of my sisters was married to the late Peter Ekure, who was a friend of Colonel William Emuria. I remember that very well. And that was during the Obote regime, and Colonel William Emuria was one of the big people there. Colonel William Emuria took me to Teso College and we met the late headmaster, Babu. Initially, Mr. Babu was saying, may his soul rest in peace, that I was time bad because I went now the day after the deadline. Oh. So because Colonel William Emuria said, no, you cannot let this boy out, he said, okay, sir, let him be admitted. And I studied in Teso College from 1985 to 1988. And that was during the time of insurgency. It was terrible. If you don't stop me by there, I have a lot of stories. I can talk for 2 hours. During the time of insurgency, we had a rough time at Teso College, but it all shaped us to be what we are. That was the time when there was massive poverty in Teso because nobody could work. People were always running from one place to the other because of the insecurity which was there. There was both insurgency and cattle rustling. My mother, being a midwife, had also been transferred from Bukeria Health Center to Malera, and Malera was always being attacked by the cattle rustlers. So there was no way apart from depending on the meager salaries that she was earning, that she was supporting my education. I remember one time being sent out of class because I had a shirt which had nothing on the back. It was during a chemistry lesson. I had a shirt which had completely nothing on the back. They asked me, don't you really have any other thing? The only thing I had in the metallic box, or we'll call it a suitcase, was a t-shirt that I had gotten from Teso College. So we were not allowed to wear t-shirts during formal classes. T-shirts were meant for games and extracurricular activities, but that's what I had. So I decided to wear that to go to class. It was difficult, but it inspired me, it pushed me to work hard. It pushed me to work. And during our exams, the final exams, there was a rebel attack at a place called Apalitunga. For many people in Teso who have gone through the Soroti Moroto Road, they know. Yes. And the rebels had ambushed the NRA then. And because it was also during our break time, and when students are gathered in a dining hall, even when they are talking softly, it looks like people are making a lot of noise. And so this gave the impression to the army that the students were moral boosting the rebels. So when they came back, after they had been attacked, when they came back, they ferociously beat us. I wasn't beaten. We hid in the biology lab. They couldn't find us, but we urinated lots of urine in tins, and our hearts would pump, and you feel like the gumboots of the soldiers were wearing were about to open. And it took hours, really, after about 2-3 p.m. That's when the soldiers released all the students. But we had to sit the exam that day. And what I remember most was a biology examination that we had to do. In our dining, and in the assembly hall where we were sitting the exams as the candidates, my desk, someone had been battered and he bled on that desk. But I did not see the blood until the first question. You know these exams that sometimes you seem to have seen a question before somewhere, you have seen it in a textbook, you know the answer but can't come, you're hungry, you've not had breakfast, you've been traumatized, there's so much adrenaline in you. I said, let me first leave this question and I continue with the others that I knew. So when the answer to that question came and I flipped back the paper, unfortunately or fortunately, the paper turned and I saw that the whole front page where my name and index number was full of blood. I froze, but I immediately banged the table. And I remember Mr. Gadu, who was our invigilator, then coming and said, unfortunately, all the papers we brought, they were exactly this. So his advice to me was continue writing, continue answering questions. As I drive to town, that is a distance of 8 kilometers, to see if we can get an extra paper. He brought the paper, and I had to squeeze within that same time to complete that exam. But God was on my side. I got a distinction. One in that paper. In biology. And I passed very well in Teso College. But because of the trauma we had gotten, I made my choices that I wanted to move away from the insecurity. So I went to Toronto College. For A-level. Toronto College, yes, because I passed everything very well. There was a debate on which type of combination I wanted to take, because all combinations were workable, they were good. Now, the career master there asked me, what exactly do you want to do? I said, I have had an ambition from being a child, being born in a hospital, seeing other doctors work well. I want to be a doctor. My mother is a midwife, and she has a disability, she has a deformity, and she has worked so hard to bring me up, to take me to school. So I chose PCB. But I had problems with mathematics, because you have to do PCB, stroke, sub-math, or even pure maths. But I just wanted PCB. So during one of the classes at Toronto College, one of the mathematics teachers was teaching pure maths. And one time he said, we're doing, I've forgotten how they call that mathematics, but we would put 2 steps and an answer. So being an inquisitive student, I put up my hands. So I have not understood how you arrived, yes, how you arrived at that answer. He said, he blew the chalk from the hand and said, don't bring your confusion to confuse us. If you do not understand, give it up. I said, well, I quit mathematics, but I'm going to pass. Yes. I am going to be what I want to be. I am going to be the doctor that I want to be. I moved out from that class, but I did not fail some mathematics because I studied alone. Yes. Until I got the credit 6 for some mathematics, something like that. You taught yourself? I taught myself. Wow. Because I couldn't also be taken for granted. You put 2 steps, an answer, and then somebody says you're bringing confusion to the rest of the class. Yes. So, well, the story, if you allow me to talk, is just... Well, that is very interesting. You had to prove the odds. But picking it up from there, how did you make it to the university and where did you go? From Toronto College, I'm still telling my story. That was 1989, around September. No, it was actually October 28th. My mom passed on. I was still in senior 5. My mom passed on in a violent manner here in Kumi. She had gone to meet some of her relatives who were at Elgonia, and at that time, Kumi, at that time it was a town council, was like a huge refugee camp. So there were many people who had come out from the outer villages into the town, but they had a social evening and then they threw a grenade at her and killed her. That hit me hard because no one, there were no telephones, these telephones, they were not there at that time. There was no social media, but I only got to know about it in a newspaper on a Monday morning, that 9 people had perished in Kumi following an attack, and the first name I read was my mother's name. I almost collapsed. I went to the head teacher, and finding transport, I came and found she had already been married. So I never married my mother. But I remembered her last words to me as she gave me school fees to go to college. She said, my son, read. That is your future. And that kept on ringing in my head through all that time. So if we were told to go for prep and all these things, I had something motivating me because I knew That was the situation. But how did I complete that without having was paying fees? I want to say thank you to the people of Kumi. I want to say thank you to the people of Teso. My mother, being here in Kumi Health Center, her friends, her immediate boss, Sister Ekure, Gladys, took charge of my other sisters.
Wow.
She took them to her house. And then, through her relationships with the people in the district local government, they were able to give me the first bursary for 1 term. Kumi district local government gave me a bursary to continue. And then when I came for holidays at Sister Ekure's house here in Kumi, I met one of the doctors who used to work with my mother at Emuria Hospital. He's an Englishman, Dr. Frank Guinness. I think I should have his picture here very soon.
Yeah, sure.
That is the gentleman, when he heard about me, because I used to be a friend of his boys, he had 4 boys, that said, no, John, we will help you to finish your education. And every other time we will send school fees and support, and that's what I also used now to help my other sisters to continue with their education. And so, people have good hearts. People have ways to respond to problems. And that has impacted on my life ever since. So at Truro College, I was in the Scripture Union. And being in the Scripture Union, we had fellowships. But I discovered that the way we handled our affairs at Scripture Union, we as the young people were getting overwhelmed by the demands of the Scripture Union. So one time my colleague came to talk to me that, John, why don't we go for fellowship right now? I said, I do not want to sound like I've backslidden, because if you don't go for fellowship, your colleagues say that you've backslidden. I don't want to sound like I've backslidden. I believe in God, I trust God. Everything that is happening to me is because God is there. But without you working hard, reading, it will be difficult. So when he argued with me, I told him, between you and me, you might never see the gates of Ekure University. There were not many universities.
Then, yes.
Then. And I told him, I will pursue what I'm doing with God's help, and I will see the gates of Ekure and I will become what I want to be. Unfortunately, that came to pass. And this friend of mine almost ceased being a friend. He struggled, but by the time he came to do dispensing at Mulago, I was already a doctor. I was actually doing, yes. Okay. He was now coming to, it became difficult, the relation, because those words I also told him, continue drinking. And even when we came to work, it was very difficult. You meet someone on the street, someone was passed, because he remembers that we should have been together. And he was a bright boy. But what I'm trying to say, it is the way we managed our time as young people. And even for young people right now, it's the way you manage your time. What you do now will impact later in life.
Thank you very much, Doctor. I'm not cutting you short, but it reminds me of some memories. You know, when we were growing up in Teso, we used to wear shorts, but those shorts actually had torches, like you said. There is a 0 on this other bum, and then there is like a 1 on the thread, and then there is like a 0 there. I'm very sure everybody who has been in Teso sees this. And it reminds us, it gives us some very good memories about this. From your story, Doctor, it puts emphasis that you're from a very humble background. And you have been very passionate about your academics. And from your passion, it encourages and it motivates very many people. We would want to understand what has been pushing you, what has been something that has been inspiring you as a professional doctor now and as a surgeon. What is the thing that has been motivating you all through? Yes, you've talked about Mommy's statement, Mommy's counsel, which was giving you the money. Yes, picking it up from there. What has been the thing that has been inspiring you to work well professionally, perhaps in the society? What is the thing that motivates you?
Paul, I think, yes, first of all, my dream as a child was to become a doctor. And true, when I qualified as a doctor, there is again another friend of my mother and a friend of Professor Maswa. I did my internship in Emuria. So that friend came to work with us. He came to visit us in Emuria. And he came at the time when I was finishing my internship. And he asked me, when you finish, he saw that I was so good. When you finish, where do you want to go and work? Because he wanted me to go and work in Emuria,
Yes.
where I was born. I told him that Dr. Craven, the challenge of going to work exactly at home, that I will be overwhelmed.
Yes.
I am coming to what drives me. Then I said, well, even Kumi Hospital, and then at that time it was called Omino, the process center, Kumi the process center, Omino. That is still where my mother comes from. There will be so many relatives. I said, yeah, I want to go home, but this is the challenge. So I said, Kumi the process center, because of the disabilities that I've seen in that place, I want to make people's lives better. So what drives me is actually seeing people who are in disability get ability. What drives me also is to see people in pain begin to smile again and walk again. When someone who had lost hope comes back smiling to you, actually, by the way, when Kumi, I don't buy food. People bring for me food. Despite me charging them money to operate, people appreciate. And then when they appreciate it, they bring matoke, they bring chicken, they bring goats. Now I have a small farm of animals, thanks for the donations. The first cow they donated to me was, well, that was during the marriage, but there was another cow I was given for treating a patient. So it gives me joy to see people come back from that miserable state to some meaningful form of life. Changing the way people think, changing the way people take their disability. And if we can change their disability to become ability, that drives me every day. And when we do a very complex case and we succeed, that makes me happy. And just 2 nights ago, like I told you that we have conferences, we had a meeting of online of all the doctors in Uganda, and I presented to them the cases that we repair here that came from their hospitals away from here, that were messed up. And when we showed them how we did it, they said, Kumi is a wonderful place to be. And we want to learn like you, we want to be like you. We want to inspire other people to work hard and do the right thing. So what inspires me is the joy that people come back from, or get from the misery that they have had, and they restoring ability and restoring them.
Thank you very much. This is indeed very encouraging. And I think once in a while we might need to visit you and help you to celebrate the joy that people brought, like we could maybe roast one chicken. Yeah, this is really moving. People with disabilities get back to ability. It's a very powerful thing. Now, we know that apparently Kumi Orthopedic Center is the only hospital, is the only orthopedic center or hospital which is out of Kampala. There are more than 10 orthopedic hospitals that are tied in Kampala there. And somehow we would really want to ask questions. From your experience, you've been in Emuria, you've been in Kampala, yes, you've worked in Omino, you've been in Teso. But what is the thing that motivated, what is the thing that guided your decision that this hospital needed to be in Kumi? And what are the core values of Kumi Orthopedic Center? And how far do you feel you have achieved them? Are you at ease that you've achieved them? Apparently.
Thank you. Paul, let me first correct you before I answer that.
Yeah.
This is the only orthopedic hospital in Uganda. Now, the other hospitals have orthopedic surgeons working with them, but they are general hospitals.
Yes.
The only hospital that comes to Kumi Orthopedic Center is the one called Koso,
Yes.
on Entebbe Road, Kisubi, which is a CBM, or let's say it's a non-governmental hospital, private not-for-profit, that is dedicated to children also with disabilities and has both plastic surgery and children's orthopedics. But now they have expanded because of the poor relation or money inflows. Now, there are many hospitals now that provide orthopedic services, but they are not orthopedic hospitals.
Specifically, yeah.
Now, to come to the reason why I built this hospital here, my mother's blood flowed in this area, but the people of this area made me become what I am. So I built this hospital to give back to the people of Kumi and Teso at large. Otherwise, when I had the opportunity to move, I could have been outside Uganda. I had opportunities in South Africa, I had opportunities in Canada, I had opportunities in the USA. But I felt like I had a covenant. To talk about a contract is weak. I have a covenant with the people of Teso. I don't just want to talk about the people of Kumi. I feel I am bonded to them, I am part of them, and whatever I do, though sometimes it's misunderstood, is for the good of the people of Teso. Well, there will always be negative people. They will always say, yes, he built the hospital there, but very few locals access the services. I can assure you, very many people, including my neighbors in the hospital here in Osioda, Kendi, where now access the services. We treat more than 1,000 patients, not just 1,000, we operate more than 1,000 patients every year. We treat more than 4,000 patients every year. That's how busy we are. And the reason I put this hospital here was to remember my mother and make sure that her blood did not flow in vain. And those who chose to support me when I was in need now know that they did the right thing. And I want to tell others who have the ability, if there is a child who has difficulties, please help them. Please help them, because you never know what will come back, what you get out of that. Sure. It's not like paying back or paying back to. We've supported a number of children who have also qualified and become doctors. They have become different professionals. But we know so long as we are alive, we will continue to serve our community the way it is. But sometimes people make a mistake of misunderstanding when you say, I've given it back to the people of Kumi, and they think you should offer a free service. That's what I used to tell people, even when I was in Kumi Hospital as a staff of the church hospital. There is no way you can provide orthopedic services of very high quality like we do without resources. Where do we get our funding from? Who gives us that funding? And when we set out to build this hospital, we say we must build a self-sustaining, self-propagating hospital, and which means the people would have to access the services that otherwise would not be accessible by paying. And if we have to give you a hip replacement, it should be the same quality that you get in the USA, in Germany, or in India if you decided to go. We've actually rejected lots of Indian prostheses which are cheap, because we believe all human beings are the same, because all of them were created by God. There is nothing that should be given because this is from Kumi, this one is poor. No, everybody deserves the best, and that's what we want to offer to our people.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Doctor. Now, I think you put something very clear. The reason why perhaps the fares, the cost of treatment in this hospital is the way it is because it is an international standard. And I think that is very applaudable, because that means instead of me flying to another country, I will get the same service that I would get there from here, minus the costs of paying like an air ticket. And I think that is amazing. I think that is what people have not been understanding.
Now, let me just tell you that
yes.
Now, actually, instead of people flying out, they're now flying to Kumi. They're now flying to Kumi. What we're thinking of now is finding land where we can build an aerodrome. But they can also fly to Soroti Flying School and get driven here. Or they can fly to Kumi Hospital and get driven here. But those who use helicopters now are starting. I have patients down there who have been flown in helicopters. I have patients now who have been driven from Kampala here. Now the distance, Kumi is now becoming like the center in terms of treatment. Yeah. Kumi receives patients from all over Uganda. We've had patients flying in from Ethiopia, from Eritrea, from Kenya, and also from Tanzania. And it doesn't mean there are no orthopedic services in those countries. They're there. But it's because of the quality, and it's because of, like you say, our core values. Our core values are about really giving people the quality that they deserve, high quality, and being timely, and being, of course, kind to them, being compassionate, and we have a list of core values that we practice.
Are you at peace that you have achieved?
Peaceful, very quickly. They become complacent. They reach so quickly. We have not reached. We want to do more than we've done. To other people, they think we have reached. We have not yet reached where we want to be. There is so much still we're waiting for, but we are thankful to God for what we have and where we have reached. So we are not yet there. We are still hungry. We're still hungry for more success. We're still hungry for more quality service. We're still hungry for more. We are not there. Yes. We don't have it like people may think. No, we still have that passion. We still have that drive that wants make us do better. We can do better than we did yesterday. And by the way, we are not in competition with anyone. We've eliminated that. We believe we're in competition with ourselves because we want to be better than we've been previously.
Thank you. Before we go for a break, I know, like you said, if I would use your words, you feel you have a covenant with Teso. Now, from your story, your story background, from then when you were in Teso College to this very day, you will agree with me that Teso has gone through a lot. It has gone through a lot of trouble economically, socially, religiously and politically. We would want to know, how do these problems affect you as a person? How do Teso problems affect you?
Yes, a bigger person, you don't live like an island.
Yeah, sure.
You live in a family, you live in a community, you live in a nation like Uganda. As a person, the insurgency in Uganda robbed me of my mother. As a person, the insurgency robbed my father of a lot of his wealth, and he became a pauper. It robbed most of my brothers and sisters of their livelihood. We lost one of our elder brothers in an internally displaced people's camp in Nora because the conditions were so bad. And the sanitary conditions were so bad, he got dysentery, and the treatment service, the healthcare services were very poor. They couldn't manage it, and he died. As a person, the political turmoil, well, is tied down to the insurgency, and I think that has answered. And as a person, the religious confusion, again, because of my association with the church and because of my beliefs in church. By then, for your information, I'm an apologetic Anglican. I belong to Church of Uganda. I have been to the cradle of Christianity. I visited Bethlehem.
Yes.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 4, on air.
Thank you and welcome back to EmuriaTV. If you're just joining us, we are discussing about the development of Teso, and this show is called Teso in Focus. And today we have a guest, Dr. John Ekure, and we are discussing about the development of Teso, and we have taken him down to the memory lane to understand where he comes from, and we are reminding him about some things today, and we are moving forward. And dear followers online, we are kindly requesting you to still continue following us online, EmuriaTV, on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter. And we are picking up this discussion, Doctor. What projects, apparently, do you have for Teso? Either as Kumi Orthopedics Center or as a group, like these organizations that you've already talked about. Like which projects so far do you have for Teso? And what strategies are there to implementing them? And what should the locals down there, what should a person who comes from Teso, Arab Teso develop? You down from Aina Pet Arab projects Katan and Neo Teso.
First, as a hospital, we've supported other hospitals. We've supported Ekure Hospital with 2 operating beds.
Wow.
We visited them and found that our mothers had almost no way of being delivered by surgery. So we delivered 2 operating tables to Ekure Hospital, and that's what they're still depending on. And then very soon, in the coming 2 weeks, we will be commissioning the X-ray unit at Serere Health Center 4, and we'll be probably asking government to elevate it also to the hospital center. That other project has been very interesting because it's brought out the good in Teso. Most times people speak about Teso as people remember but when we donated the X-ray machine and said we wanted a house for it, the people, not just the people of Serere, the people of Teso, they were so generous to the building of the X-ray unit, because the X-ray unit is not just built, it's not just an ordinary building. The walls are thick, they have to resist X-ray radiation. The doors are also expensive and they are thick. They have to be resistant. The rays should not be able to cross, otherwise it only cars and So that has been one project that has been so good, and I want to thank the people of Serere, of Teso. Even Sanjay Tana was able to help with the roofing sheets. So it's really a committed project for the people of Uganda. Then as APID, we are planning very big things. Teso lacks factories. We're planning for a factory that processes starch and its products, maybe even sanitizer and what. Hopefully we'll put it in Soroti Industrial Park. We're planning for many other industries. We must create jobs for our youth. Many people have gone to school and they have no jobs whatsoever. And who are those to create jobs for that? When we talk about government, who is government? We have to take responsibility to be part of government and create jobs when we are able, so that everyone has something to do. And so that's why I would really call upon all those members who even don't understand what APID is, who don't understand these social media groups, what they are, that there are many things that we're doing. And again, as professionals, we've started what we call Oduk Investments Limited. And our chairman right now is Dr. Tomo Kurt, the former executive of NEMA. And our aim is to build Oduk Investments Bank. Oduk Investments Bank will be a purely developmental bank for Teso. We think what affects many of our people in Teso is access to capital. By the way, people fear borrowing. People sometimes borrow for funny reasons, and when they borrow for those reasons, they don't develop because they fail to pay back the money. But we are thinking that we should give people easy capital so that many people can be able to start their own businesses, many people can be able to start their own projects, and so that we can grow from all angles. We don't want just one part of Teso to develop more than the other, but we want the whole Teso to grow at once. Okay, it takes time, but we are on it. We've started the company. It's been in operation for more than a year. We are working on our investment capital. We've made contributions. We're doing some business to grow that money. And we think many other people can create companies that can also create jobs that will help our people. Because when our people are engaged, it means there will be less crime, it means there will be less gossip, it means people will be busy, and then they will have something to do.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. From the perspective, we see you connecting Teso with its own children. Mebaka bido look, aruchokin kede kedwe chelo Teso, we just kinga we just stoma. Ani mon bekara de just kesi nejaibo di swamo nete kesi te region akin Teso. Yalama noe anwako na swamani. Now, very many people have been asking. They see you drive alone in your car, they see you move and always you're in business. So they wonder, what friends which friends do you have? Really?
Now, I have friends.
Yes.
But my friendship matters. I have friends who think like me. I have friends who are progressive. I do not take friends who want to put people down. I do not make friends who destroy. But I cannot name my friends for you, but I have friends, many. And I smile most of the time, I laugh most of the time, they make me happy, and we grow together. We think the same way. So I don't drive alone. Okay, my wife has her own car as well, So if my wife didn't have a car, then we'll be driving together in one car. And yes, I'm blessed that I'm working together with my wife in the same hospital. She's a professional by her own right.
Yes.
She's pursuing more studies. She's got a bachelor's degree in commerce and accounting. She's pursuing a master's degree. She's got a professional paper. This is somebody who would have been employed by those accounting organizations, international accounting organizations. But I said, why don't we build this together? I need a professional to help me manage. Because what fails most of our businesses is by thinking that you can be a doctor and also know how to do the accounting, do the reports and all these things. You have to employ professionals to do the professional work in the hospital or in an organization. Many people have had issues with the taxes. The reason they have issues with taxes is because they do not know how to keep records. They do not know how to do the accounts. They do not know how to do many things. Pay people what they deserve and they will come here. So we are generally an economically depressed area that will not attract brain power and good skills, but we have to make it work for the sake of our motherland. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Now, apparently people have been appreciating, they have been commending your works, especially when you offer scholarships or sponsorship to people to go and study. They appreciate it very much. Your donations that you have done, you've just mentioned about Katuturu Hospital, you've talked about Serere, and I know there are many more than just the ones you've listed, honestly. However, there has been a growing cry. It has also been running on social media. You can also hear people talk about around in town here. They feel that despite the fact that your contribution to the development of Teso, and perhaps Kumi in particular, is very commendable and it's appreciated, they are just thinking that perhaps based on this church matter about the COVID diocese thing, they feel that maybe your contribution is somehow stretching beyond its limit. What do you have to say about that?
Thank you very much again. Let me tell you, even when you lie on your back and people walk on your back, others will always complain that's not flat enough. Whatever you do, not everybody will agree with it. The church matter is because some people have refused to see light, they have refused to see the truth. Okay? And the facts have been laid in the courts of law, they have been proven. The truth is, it is the work of those who don't want to live in the truth. I am a professional, I stick to my profession, but I'm also, like I said, proudly an Anglican. I believe in my faith, I believe in what I do. The management of church affairs is in the hands of the church managers. So I will not be able to start saying I have gone overboard. If I am nominated into a committee and they give us criteria and somebody doesn't meet the criteria and you say this person doesn't meet the criteria, how does that make you go overboard? I think that borders on evil. To make wrong to be right and make right to be wrong, and then they castigate you because of that. There will be always people who will try to look for faults in everything you do. As somebody who has gone through a lot of hard time from my growing up to now, I know that when you reach where I've reached now, though I've not yet reached where I want to reach, you must have a thick skin. They will talk, they will threaten, they will even want to kill you because you have a car. So what will stop them from doing what they want to do? They will always find reason to try to throw mud at you. But as a business person, as a professional, you have to stay focused, determined, and with the help of God, we will succeed.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Doctor. Just before we continue, we are almost coming to the end of the show, but I think we should take through some comments online. One, there are some people who are really appreciating. They're saying some are watching abroad and they are very excited about this. They are thanking you, Doctor, for your services. They're also thanking EmuriaTV. Thank you very much for watching and following us live. And I want us to check through them. If there is any that is cross-cutting, you could, we want to check through and maybe read out one of them. Somebody is asking if we could take it through. Yeah. So there's somebody who is saying that that is HD. Craven says that that is my role there. I see. And there's somebody who is saying, that is Ekure, is saying that we thank God for you, doctor. There's another somebody who is saying, Ekure Henry is saying, that's a very good program. The general, that is General Dick Chris. He's saying that nice program, thank you, EmuriaTV. Then there is Jose Omo, greetings to doctor. I watch him from Germany, thanks to the Almighty. I remember I used to grind for him cassava flour whenever he was to travel back to the university. Thank you very much, and many more people. There is Okudu William is saying, great man. Robert Tereg is saying, is live from Kapchora. Thank you very much, and keep your comments coming on YouTube. Keep your comments coming on Facebook. We will read them out, and let's keep the conversation going. But moving forward for this discussion, Doctor, apparently you have done so many things. You are a professional doctor. You have practiced in a number of hospitals. You have experience now professionally as a doctor, and then that is now Dr. Ekure. But we also want to listen to you as Mr. Computer. What would you speak? What message would you want to leave to the young people and to the people of Teso at large?
As Mr. Ekure would say, life is something that young people should take seriously. That your background should never determine your future. That you can come out of any situation to do very well in life, but you can also come out of a very good situation to mess yourself up at whatever level of life. And as Mr. Ekure again, I treasure my belief in God. I treasure His protection on me and His guidance on me. I also treasure my family. I also treasure my extended family. And I treasure my ideas. And when I believe in them, I will pursue them until I succeed. But that doesn't mean if there are competing ideas that I cannot share mine. I always want to get, you asked about friends as well. I always get those friends who are like-minded that can bring ideas that we can grow together. And I am always focused. And I have learned as Mr. Ekure that I have to be persistent in life. I have to persist through crap. Crap here will stand for criticism. Whatever you do, whether you like it or not, when you walk barefooted, other people will criticize you. When you wear those torches, people will criticize you. When you wear a suit, people will criticize you. And I will persist through that. I will also persist through rejection. Now, I did not set out to build a hospital from the beginning. I set out to serve the people of Kumi and Teso through the church hospital in Kampala. My late mother's workmates, the one I call Dr. Craven from England, is a surgeon, was Professor Maswa's workmate also at Emuria and probably at school somewhere. He wrote a small note to Professor Maswa, and he wrote a small note to Professor Maswa asking him to help me join either Emuria Hospital or Kumi Hospital. At that time it was Bishop Ekure who was the head of Soroti Diocese. We're all under Soroti Diocese. So after my internship, I came with a note from Professor Maswa to Bishop Ekure, and he asked me, where would you want to be? Do I send you to Emuria? Do I send you to Kumi Hospital? I send me to Kumi Hospital. And I admired Bishop Ekure. He mentored me in many ways. We got close, and I worked in the hospital that he was running as well as a board chair. And I want to tell you, the young people must have respect, first of all, for elders, because they will shape your future. The young people must have respect for the truth, because that will shape their future. If anyone does not question why certain things are said and done, then you are likely to fail. But as a young person, respect doesn't mean taking everything people say as absolute something. You must be able to have the capacity to reason. And then this hospital, I was talking still about crap. We had issues at Kumi Hospital. I can summarize it that I was rejected at Kumi Hospital. When I was rejected, I said I have a covenant with the people of Kumi. And so, instead of me moving far away, let me put my own unit here. And that's how I built Kumi Orthopedics Center. So rejection is also good. When people reject you, actually they propel you. It inspires you to move forward. Now, the other one is adversity. Yes, through adversity, I lost my mother, I lost what, but I got help. I studied. Adversity should help you project yourself. And there is also prejudice. People who have prejudice against other people will always want to make you fail in one way, but you have to have a thick skin and stay focused and determined. Anyone else who does anything outside what they should do will be a criminal. Okay? But anyone else who can criticize without necessarily tampering with the work the others are trying to do, will be okay to criticize, but we learn from that criticism and move forward and make ourselves better. We will stay hungry, we will stay focused, we will stay determined. And our future is not dependent on those who don't want us. Like I said, you will not be wanted by everybody. And we are not out to be praised by everybody. We are out to serve those who really want our service, those who want to depend on what we do, who benefit from us, those who will benefit. And that's what we can say about some communities that are negative in one way or the other. So negative people will always exist. And as somebody who treasures where he's going, we are all here, no one will reject the other, we will stay. And if somebody attempts to do some illegality, they are the ones who reject themselves, because that is not what we are. We are more than what they think.
Yeah, I think we are going to find time in the near future, and we want to delve so much about what people say about you and how it should affect you. I think we are going to give time to that as EmuriaTV. But just before we go from this, thank you very much, Doctor. This is very particular and specific to the young people. Iliptostunga liputi nera teso kwenye ijeri lipuitunga luwe richokina kedoni yoto mulago ngesi ikamutura musuguno ine kwenye akirono ipolok no enere doktae balas bonbe nija satumuna busakiti jo ayo mtitunga luwe polokani jaju nara ipua kakirilos keshisha bunija dumu nare rengesho bunija dumu na ititina naro na ibu na ingaraki nijo keda swama go na nija jo kere inye nija jo ara kuna nilo mutori jo ara bunati arero no jo kau ara ibuti jo rea loichana ara nini kai jare jajo tumubakor inye aseseni bakor muntejo kwenye ja aseseni ngare ndo ja swama go tutere jipera ijlak ne kone ja utene jilak ne kone kala kai jilak in teso kere kai dules. There are two last things, Doctor, that I want us to finish this portal from here. What would be your particular advice or something you want to mention to the professionals, other professional doctors or medical practitioners in Teso or in Uganda large, particularly?
Thank you, Paul. What I want to tell many professionals, seriously speaking as a professional as well, one, remember where you're coming from. There are many professionals who will be educated by these mothers or ours. They wear one dress for months. They cannot even do their hair. They sacrifice for you. And then when you have qualified like me, you go and sit in some cool office and forget about them. Let's remember where we're coming from. And by remembering where we're coming from, let's give back and take care of our parents first. And then our elders. And let's invest so that our neighbors can benefit from the fruits of our education. There is no being a professional, whether you are a super rocket engineer or something like this, and doesn't impact on the community. We must impact on our communities, and one, not just financially or economically, but even change the way they think. There are some practices in our culture that are retrogressive, but I'm happy to say, as professionals who are working within our cultural union, who are trying to come together and understand what can work for people and what cannot work for people, and working together with them. Let's not ignore them. Let's not just say these people are a burden. When we were young, we were always a burden to them. When they grow old, then we start saying our parents are a burden. That's wrong. I have actually seen some parents here, they have 12 children, they're all working. At that time it used to be called UCB, but they're working in Stanbic. Old woman got diabetes, but they could never afford even a cent to send a cent for the treatment of the mother. Let's stop this thing. I said I'm a proud Anglican. Religion has a role to play in our lives. Believe in religion, in Christ, for me who is believing in Jesus Christ, has a role to shape you. Money without Christ is useless, because you'll sink it in so many things. You'll sink it in prostitutes, you'll sink it in useless buildings. Let it impact on the life of people. There are many children roaming in our villages who cannot afford an education, but we are there with lots of money, being selfish. Let Christ enter our hearts and let's start doing the right things. So for the other professionals, whether in health, whether in engineering, whether in education, I'm not saying come back home, but have another foot back here at home.
Thank you very much. Kedate somami turamu gitore. Yalama na doctor will be very clear and to the point. Araiso maijo ni somaijo mame rai bon bejeja doctor na ikeo na ara disomaijo dise business ebi asare diskere. Anora polo kapoteso ami murokina uri akakon. Ai ngara kitekisi ya doctor bera ngina na ipedo toriyo. Titeroni pedora potero ipera dunare ingesio neja sauri akamun. And lastly, doctor, currently in Uganda, very many people who make a name, either in a profession or whatsoever, but in the recent polls, we've seen that a number of doctors that have actually reached a certain level, certainly are turning into politics. Do you at one moment intend to go political?
And thank you for that question. I mean, many people have tried to talk to me that why don't you stand, why don't you do this? I have a focus. Like I told you in the beginning, I have a covenant with the people of Teso, and my field, my strength is in my profession. I have no business in elective politics. I have no business wasting time in things that will either rip people apart or not help people. I'm not saying politics is bad, but I love orthopedic surgery. I love seeing the smiles of those who are unable, disabled, becoming able and walking again. I can tell you a short story of a patient who spent about 3 years in Kampala. He was at Case Hospital, he went to Nakasero Hospital, he was in Mulago Hospital. 3 years. He had a horrendous accident, multiple fractures, wasn't walking. They brought to him here. He spent a lot of money, more than 100 million treating himself. He had never walked for 3 years. When we treated him, day one was able to get up for the first time. And the words he expressed can bring tears to my eyes. That is the joy I get in doing what I do. I love my profession. I have passion for it, and I'm not about to lose it. So I'm not about to start thinking of politics or elective politics. I'm thinking about how to keep this hospital beyond me. When I die, it should really continue to serve the way I dreamt of it. That is the preoccupation I have with right now.
Thank you very much, fellow viewers out there. Thank you very much for following EmuriaTV, and we want to thank you very much for following this event from the very beginning up to now. And we want to thank you very much for listening to us. And one thing that you should take home, yes, you might have an issue with me, but perhaps what we have communicated to you, the sense that you must have listened to, should change your life for the better of Teso. We want to thank you very much once more for loving EmuriaTV, and we pray that you keep loving it. We've been having this show, Teso in Focus, and we've been doing it here at Kumi Orthopedics Center, the only orthopedic hospital in Uganda. And we've come to the end of this show, and want to pray that we will catch up with you again in another show at Teso in Focus again. We will invite Doctor and other people in Teso that matter, and people who are passionate about the development and the changes that are positive to Teso. we will always invite them as Emuria TV. You can always love and like Emuria TV on social media, on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter, Emuria TV. Thank you very much. It has been me, your host, Paul Opesen. Thank you very much, and regards from Emuria TV. Thank you.